So earlier in the week, I had seen people talk about how their local movie theater um, was showing basically empty theaters for the new Melania documentary, a propaganda piece made by a sexual predator, by the way. Um, Small circles, right? And I thought, that's not that abnormal to not have any seats sold for like a documentary, days before days before the actual showtime. That's not abnormal at all. It's not like a Marvel movie or like a Star Wars movie where people would book their seats ahead of, weeks ahead of time to make sure they get a seat. People are going to get their seat like the day of or the day before or 2 days before. Um, but I decided to check my local theater, the local the local Regal Cinema chain, which is the theater chain that I go to because I'm a Regal Unlimited member. And I was disheartened to see that the theater was more or less like halfway full. And I thought, oh, that's a bummer that, it seems like people want to go see this movie in my hometown. I live in Texas, but I live in a blue county. So it seemed a little strange, but not entirely strange that many people want to go see it. But I started noticing some things that make me think that these seats are by and large being bought up by some sort of political organization. Now that's just speculation on my part, but it's pretty educated speculation based on, I go to see like 4 or 6 movies a month with my Regal Unlimited subscription. So I notice trends and I notice people's habits, and some of the some of this activity is a little suspicious. Again, it's just speculation. This may indicate legitimate interest in the movie in my city, but I think I'm pretty sure that the bulk of these seats are being taken up by by people, buying them up for a political organization. Whether or not there'll be actually people in those seats when the movie starts, or whether the tickets are just being bought to inflate the numbers, I don't know. And like I said, I don't even know if it's the case that these seats are being bought up by a political organization, but it seems suspicious. So this first screenshot that I have is for the first showing on the first day at actually the theater that I go to. And you can see it's the the dark gray seats are the ones that are purchased. The white seats are the ones that are available. Now, the top of the screenshot are the rows closest to the screen, and the screenshot, I wasn't able to capture the first row, the one closest to the screen, but there is a row at the very front of the theater that you're not seeing. And that row, the first 2 rows, and actually looks like the first 2 rows and then like that handicap accessible row, are completely empty. But you can see all of the dark gray seats that are taken up. And it's a little suspicious. Um, People usually try to avoid sitting next to a stranger. And when I first looked earlier in the week, um, some of these more back row seats hadn't been taken, but they started to fill in, but they're filling in like right next to other people. And that those back rows where there's like 8, 10 people, 7 people sitting right next to each other, that's not normal. Now, this may be indicative of people, going as like a family or whatever, but that's not typical. What this looks like to me is that a political organization just bought out like most of a row. And, you can see like there's one seat to the right of the back row, and then there's 2 seats on the to the right of the second to back row. That those probably are real people. It could be, either way, but those could be real people. Just one guy going to see the movie by himself. And I say guy because it's a guy. It's not going to be a woman, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so those may be real people. All of these may be real people. Like I said, I'm just speculating based on just experience. Okay, so yeah, this is the first showing, noon, opening day, and then we go to the next one. This next one, again, there's a bunch of seats together. Now, again, this may be indicative of like a family going together and wanting to sit together, But like that's kind of suspicious to have that many seats together and then, a bunch of empty seats where you would think like if it's just random people, who aren't together, that they would want to not sit next to a stranger. And you can see there's like a few where there's like two people sitting together scattered here and there, but a lot of these are just like large sections of people all sitting together. A little suspicious, but whatever. This is the last showing of the day. Again, there's a row that you can't see because the screenshot wasn't able to capture it. But that very first front of the theater row is completely empty. This is a 9:55 showing on opening day, completely empty. It is very, very suspicious. It's very suspicious that the very first showing would be almost full. Middle of the day showing would be, not as packed, but pretty well packed. And then the last showing of the day, which is like, you know, tends to be one of the busier showings, is completely empty. Now, this is going to be a trend that you're going to see of completely empty last showings. Very, very suspicious. Okay, so moving on to another theater. Again, Regal, because I checked Regal, and you can see you can actually see that orange thing is the screen. So I was able to get the entire theater for this one. 130, again, completely just whole rows taken up. Suspicious. That's weird. Opening day, middle of the day showing, but first two rows completely empty. And then that middle row is almost completely full, and they're all sitting together. Back two rows, that could be, indicative of real people going, because they're not all sitting together, and two or three people going. Well, one person, two people, three people going together. That's normal. But that middle row of people all sitting together, that's kind of weird. Do you really think a family of 12 people are all going to see the Melania movie together? It doesn't seem likely. That seems like a political organization probably buying up a dozen tickets, and whether or not those people will show up or they're just buying tickets to pad the numbers, who can say? But then you go to the 10:30 showing, zero seats sold. Weird. Here's another one. So this one, it's hard to see, but there a few of those gray seats are actually, you can see there's like a slash through them, and there's a little key at the bottom indicating that means the seat is unavailable. Probably the seat is like broken or something, or the leather's torn up or something's wrong with this. They're not selling those seats. Those seats are not sold. They're just not available for whatever reason. And there's only actually a few seats that are sold. So this is 12:45. This is the first showing at this particular theater. So this is a 3:40 at that same theater with the broken seats. No seats taken other than those unavailable seats. Okay, the last showing of the day. No seats. That's weird. That's a pattern, right? That the last showing of the day, one that you would think would be popular because it's late at night, people are out for the weekend. No seats taken. Okay, here's one. This is a different theater. Again, large chunks of seats being taken up. First showing. These first showings are not generally like popular showtimes because it's Friday. People tend to be still at work, and these could be like old people who are retired going to see this movie. So that could be an explanation. Middle of the day, again, like big chunks of seats together, just a little suspicious. This one doesn't look suspicious right away because it's like two people sitting together, three people sitting together. But just psychologically speaking, even though these are stadium seats that you don't have to worry about the people in front of you like blocking your view because you cannot see the people in front of you the way the seats are set up. So that it's not like a thing of like people don't want to sit right behind someone, or but people do tend to scatter and sort of like not sit right behind or right in front of someone in the other row. It's a psychological thing. People just tend to not do that. If someone is sitting in the second to last row right in the middle, people tend to sit like to the side of that person, even though their view's not being blocked. That just tends to be what people do. It's a psychological thing. Last showing of the day, 0 seats sold. Now, none of this is conclusive. It's just kind of weird. I guess I could call around and make inquiries as to what is going on. Um, but, who gives a fuck? It's the stupid Melania movie. I've already put in more work into this than is necessary. It's just a little weird. It's just a little suspicious. The booking habits in these theaters, that this is indicative of genuine interest in this movie. I don't know what to make of it. It's a little weird.